the prayer that Moses hid before the world. There is a moment when even the strongest collapse, and you feel this truth pressing against your chest right now. I am speaking to you, son, to you, daughter, because there are battles you never dared to mention, wounds you never confessed, fears you kept behind your eyes so no one would see how close misery has come to your home. Misery never arrives with noise. It enters quietly, through a thought, through exhaustion, through a silence that lasts too long. By the time you notice its presence, it may already be feeding on what you love. This is why you are here. This is why I am speaking now. You were not supposed to watch this later. You were meant to hear this in this exact moment, because the danger surrounding your family has already crossed the threshold of your door. Moses understood this fear long before you did. He stood before millions, yet he could not hide the trembling that consumed him when misery reached his own house. He split seas, but could not split the darkness rising inside his family. He carried a nation, but he felt powerless to carry the ones he loved most. And in the shadows of his tent, far from the eyes of the people, he broke. He fell to the ground and cried a prayer the world never saw, a prayer shaped in the essence of what later became Psalm 107. Then they cried unto the Lord in their trouble, and he delivered them from their distress. Moses whispered these words before they were written, because desperation teaches the soul to find the language of deliverance. You hear me speak this now because the same misery that tried to devour the house of Moses is seeking a place in yours. This is not exaggeration. This is not drama. This is a warning from my spirit to your spirit. Your silence has been feeding what is trying to break you. Your exhaustion has been opening doors you never meant to open. Your fear has been calling storms you do not have to face alone. And I am telling you with urgency, this is the turning point. If you keep walking without confronting what threatens your family, you will lose what I intended to preserve. If you rise and cry out, I will deliver you exactly as I delivered Moses. If this word is reaching your spirit, subscribe and like, so this message can reach another family drowning in silent misery. What is breaking you is breaking many, and this is how we push back against the darkness. The moment misery entered Moses' house. You need to understand this with absolute clarity, because the same pattern that entered Moses' house is trying to enter yours. Misery does not burst through the door. It studies the cracks. It observes the weak points. It waits for the moment when the strong become tired. Moses was exhausted. He had carried the weight of a nation for too long. He faced rebellion, drought, complaints, and spiritual warfare that drained the essence of his strength. He stood firm before Pharaoh, but inside his home, he began to feel the quiet shaking of foundations he thought were unbreakable. This is where the danger begins, son, daughter, in the moments you assume you are still standing, while something inside you has already started to collapse. Moses said within himself, I exist. But why do I feel the ground beneath me fading? This is the first mark of misery entering a family, the subtle realization that something is off, that the peace you once felt now feels thin, that the joy that once filled your house has begun to leak through invisible fractures. He perceived the void forming inside the people he loved. He noticed distant eyes. He noticed short responses. He noticed a coldness that did not belong to those who once walked closely with him. Yet he did what many strong people do. He ignored the signs. He believed he could fix it later. He believed it was temporary. Misery feeds on the belief that tomorrow is safe. This is the danger surrounding you now. You keep telling yourself you will handle it soon, that the bitterness will pass, that the silence will break, that the heaviness will lift on its own. But misery grows in the spaces you refuse to confront. It is not always birthed from sin. Sometimes it rises from exhaustion, spiritual dryness, wounds inherited from generations, doors left half open by distraction, pressure, or fear. What entered Moses' house hid beneath layers of responsibility and duty. He was leading a nation but losing his home. You may be leading your job, your responsibilities, your life, but something is slipping out of your hands when it comes to your family. I tell you this with urgency because the misery that touched Moses' home came looking for yours. You must see the signs before they take root. You must acknowledge the void before it becomes a pit. You must confront the darkness before it becomes a pattern. You are not imagining the spiritual tension around you. You are not overreacting to the emotional distance in your household. These are warnings. These are signals. These are the footsteps of something that wants to grow stronger if you do nothing. You are hearing this because I am calling you to awareness. See what Moses refused to see at first. Recognize what has been forming in your home. Your next step will determine whether misery grows or whether deliverance begins. The prayer no one saw when Moses broke in secret. There comes a moment when the weight you carry becomes too heavy to hide. And Moses reached this breaking point long before anyone around him understood the depth of his struggle. He held his staff with authority in public, but in private, his hands trembled. He led millions through the wilderness, yet he could not lead his own heart out of the darkness settling inside his home. Strong people collapse quietly. They bleed internally. They break in rooms where no one applauds or comforts. And this is where you must see yourself, son, daughter. The strongest version of you has been holding too much for too long. The pressure around you has not been visible to others, but it has been pressing against the walls of your soul until they began to crack. In the silence of night, Moses stepped away from the camp, away from the noise, away from the responsibility that suffocated him, and he finally let his knees touch the ground. This was the moment of truth. This was the moment misery became unbearable. This was the night when Moses whispered what later became the heartbeat of Psalm 107. He cried out, not as a prophet, not as a leader, but as a man afraid of losing the people he loved the most. He felt powerless. He felt guilty. He felt responsible for what he could not control. He felt the fear that you have felt, the fear of watching your home shift into a place you no longer recognize. He said within himself, therefore, I perceive the void. Therefore, I recognize my fall. This realization was not weakness. This was awakening. This was the moment he understood that silence would not save his family. His strength would not save his family. His leadership would not save his family. Only his cry would move the heavens. Only his surrender would trigger deliverance. When Moses broke, heaven listened. When Moses cried, the atmosphere shifted. When Moses admitted his weakness, God began his work of restoration. This is why you are listening to this now. You have been carrying yourself as the strong one, the stable one, the unshakable one. But the battle inside you has reached a point where pretending is no longer an option. The silence around you is too heavy. The emotional distance is too real. The spiritual coldness in your home is too dangerous to ignore. What Moses felt in secret is what you have been feeling without telling anyone. And just as I responded to him, I am responding to you now. Write in the comments as a prophetic act, God, deliver my family from all misery. Your declaration becomes the cry that breaks the spiritual silence, the act that confronts the darkness attempting to grow stronger around your home, the psalm that interrupted the darkness. There is a reason your spirit is restless while hearing this. There is a reason you feel the tension inside your chest rising as if something invisible is being confronted. When Moses fell to the ground in secret, something extraordinary happened. His cry aligned with a spiritual pattern that heaven had already established long before the psalm was written. Psalm 107 is not just a chapter, it is a divine response system. Every line carries a code, revealing a truth that misery fears. The moment a son or a daughter cries out, God intervenes with authority. Then they cried unto the Lord in their trouble, and he delivered them from their distress. This is not poetry. This is a law in the spiritual realm. Misery loses power when a voice rises. When Moses whispered the essence of this psalm, darkness hesitated. The misery growing inside his home was interrupted. The spiritual heaviness that wrapped itself around his family began to loosen. This is the hidden revelation I need you to see. Deliverance is not triggered by understanding the problem. Deliverance is triggered by calling upon the God who stands above the problem. The enemy wants silence. Misery wants passivity. Darkness thrives when you stay still and hope things will fix themselves. But the moment Moses cried, his cry became a weapon. His prayer, shaped by desperation, broke the rhythm of the darkness surrounding him. Son, daughter, your silence has been feeding what is trying to destroy your home. Your reluctance to confront the spiritual patterns in your family has been allowing misery to grow roots. This is not about blame. This is about awakening. You must see the urgency of your situation through the eyes of this psalm. Every time someone cries, God moves. Every time someone calls from a place of collapse, heaven responds with power. Psalm 107 is the declaration that misery cannot reign where there is surrender. It is the announcement that darkness cannot withstand a desperate cry filled with faith. You hear me now because your cry is overdue. You have been analyzing the problem, trying to stay strong, trying to manage everything alone. But deliverance is not born from analysis. Deliverance is born from surrender. Moses discovered this truth on the ground, knees trembling, heart breaking. You are standing at the same threshold. Your next decision will determine whether misery continues its work or whether it is interrupted by the authority of my word. If your spirit is sensing the weight of this moment, do not ignore it. What tried to consume Moses' family is attempting to consume yours, but the psalm that saved him is being placed in your hands now. Your cry will not be ignored. Your voice will not be lost. Your surrender will not be denied. It is time to interrupt the darkness that has been moving in silence around your home. When God stepped into the house of Moses, there comes a moment when human strength ends and divine intervention begins, and Moses reached that exact threshold the night he cried out. His voice did not travel far in the natural world, but in the spiritual realm, it shattered the atmosphere around his family. Misery had crept into his home through exhaustion and silence, but it could not withstand a heart fully surrendered. The moment Moses cried, I moved. The moment he broke, I entered. The moment he released control, I took hold of what he could not rescue by human effort. This is the mystery of deliverance. It is activated not by strength, but by surrender. When I stepped into Moses' house, the first thing I confronted was the invisible heaviness that had been pressing against his family. I did not begin by addressing the surface. I began by breaking what was trying to choke the spiritual life inside his home. I entered as the God of restoration, and misery lost its authority immediately. The same darkness that had been feeding on Moses' silence began to retreat. The discouragement, the distance, the emotional coldness that had grown unnoticed began to dissolve. I restored communication, softened hearts, reopened what had been shut, and uprooted what was poisoning the atmosphere. Nothing resists when I enter with power. And this is the point where you must see yourself, son, daughter. What I did for Moses is exactly what I am prepared to do inside your home. I'm not speaking of symbolic restoration. I am speaking of real intervention. I'm speaking of confronting patterns that have been forming for months. I'm speaking of breaking generational burdens that were passed through your family line without your awareness. You have been feeling the tension, sensing the shift, noticing the signs that misery has been trying to gain territory in your house. I am telling you now that this ends the moment you allow me to step in. I do not need perfect conditions to act. I do not need you to understand everything. I do not need you to feel strong. I only need what Moses gave me, a cry, a surrender, a willingness to let me take control of what you cannot fix alone. You have been fighting battles in your own strength, trying to hold your family together by determination, hoping that things will settle if you stay focused. But the spiritual weight pressing against your home has grown beyond what human strength can carry. This is why I am speaking to you with urgency. Your family is not beyond saving. Your home is not too broken. What is threatening you is not stronger than the God who delivered Moses. Allow me to enter, and what has been binding your household will be broken. Allow me to move, and what has been weakening your relationships will lose its grip. Allow me to step into your home, and you will see the same restoration Moses witnessed when he cried out, "Misery cannot survive where my presence dwells." Surrender is the key that opens the door. The generational miracle. What God does when a family cries out. When Moses cried out for deliverance, he believed he was asking only for the survival of his home. He did not realize he was triggering something far greater. My intervention in his family was not limited to that moment of crisis. It reshaped the generations that would come after him. A single cry redirected the spiritual future of an entire bloodline. This is the dimension you often fail to see. Son, daughter, you think your pain belongs only to today, but the battle pressing against your home carries generational weight. Misery always aims beyond the present moment. It seeks to plant seeds that will grow into future destruction. And this is why I respond with such urgency when a heart cries out. I do not deliver only the present, I deliver the future. When I stepped into Moses' house, I did more than restore what misery attempted to break. I sealed his home with my presence. I cut off the spiritual patterns that threatened his legacy. I lifted the weight that had been forming across his descendants. From that moment forward, the enemy lost access to the generational line of my servant. His cry became a shield over children not yet born. His surrender built a spiritual wall that misery could no longer climb. This is the power hidden inside Psalm 107. Then they cried unto the Lord in their trouble, and he delivered them. Deliverance is not only an event, it is a lineage. You are standing in the same place Moses once stood. You feel the pressure inside your home and assume the danger is limited to what your eyes can see. But you are fighting for more than the present. You are fighting for those who will come after you. Your cry today changes what your family becomes tomorrow. Your surrender today breaks what your parents could not break. Your decision to confront misery becomes the moment your entire bloodline shifts. This is why I brought you here. Why you could not ignore this message, why something inside you stirred the moment you heard Moses' story. You are not just protecting your home, you are rewriting your legacy. You are breaking cycles that have tried to define your family for generations. Your cry is the turning point, your surrender is the doorway. Your decision to rise spiritually places your entire house under my covering. Now I invite you to seal this moment with the prayer my son taught the world to pray. Speak it as a declaration over your family, over your future, and over every life connected to your bloodline. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.